Hello and welcome everyone, as usual, to the aftermarket analysis session of the Indian markets Nifty and Bank Nifty. This is the aftermarket analysis in session after the Indian market closes. We look here at what happened today in Nifty and Bank Nifty, where the buyers are, where the sellers are, and basically try to understand the footprint a little better. So if you are new and want to learn order flow or want to learn how to use charting effectively, you can join this live webinar daily at 5 p.m. The link to this live webinar is uploaded on the GoCharting Discord and Telegram community. Thirdly, if you are using GoCharting at that time, a notification appears on the right top corner on the right side that says webinar. You can also join the webinar from the link provided there. Every day at 5 p.m., this webinar addresses any queries you have regarding order flow and GoCharting. Questions are taken here, and an attempt is made to explain the topics, making it a very valuable webinar. If you cannot join this webinar live, the recording of this webinar is uploaded on GoCharting's Hindi channel, the official channel of GoCharting, and on the other two channels in all other languages. You can also go to the channel of the respective language and watch the recording of this webinar there. Okay, so this was today's market movement of Nifty. It opened here, okay, and it gave a closing here. And that it was bullish somewhere. Nifty showed a bullish movement. Let's continue with today's movement and see how the order flow provided confirmation in this movement where the buyers and sellers are. But before that, let's take a look at the footprints here. If you use GoCharting, there's a tool where you can backtest by clicking and removing the future data, meaning you can hide it and then play it so that each candle forms slowly one by one. Okay? So let's see what confirmations we had from the volume profile for today. Yesterday's Pioki zone volume note was here, and combining the volume notes from the last two sessions, it was also formed here. See, this is indicating that. So we mark this area. The high area of yesterday's volume node was here, okay, meaning here as well. This entire large volume node that has formed, its value area low was where the Pioki zone was, and this was the value area high. We marked both of these. In case it breaks to the downside, we had the low of yesterday's session's volume profile, and then we marked its high. So these are some levels according to the volume profile. Now, let's look at the order flow to see how it will be helpful. In today's session, how the footprint provided confirmation on these levels. The most important level was the most important because yesterday's POC zone was here, and it was also the POC zone for some previous sessions. It was standing right here. Now let's focus on the footprint and see what happened, where and how. To read the footprint properly, we need to know what delta is. So what is delta, boss? In simple language, delta tells us the difference between buyer and seller. For example, the delta of the first candle is 164, which means around 164,000 is inside the green box. And there is no negative sign in the value. Like the first candle, this candle's delta is positive, meaning buyers. Positive delta means it's about buyers. For instance, on the right side of the footprint, we have buyers, and on the left side, we have sellers. So when we added the sellers on the left side, the total came to 100,000. And when we added the buyers, the total came to 264,000. So what is the difference here? 164,000. And who is more? Buyers are more. So the delta itself told us that there are more buyers in this candle. Up by how much? 164,000. Okay. Now let's pick this candle. What happened inside this candle? What is the delta of this candle? Firstly, it's inside the red box, because, and on top of that, it's negative. The value is, so that means what happened here is we got a negative delta, which means of the seller. Inside this candle, there were more sellers. Compared to buyers, how many more sellers were there? Around how many more sellers were there? How were there more sellers? Like the total of this candle, where there were more buyers. In this candle, there were more sellers. Now, we have the essence of each candle. We can quickly tell for any candle who is powerful inside that candle, the buyer or the seller. Okay. So now we are going to learn how to read the delta. Before we jump to the first candle, there's one more thing. Like the first candle, the third candle, the fourth, fifth candle, and one, this is one candle, and this is another candle. The delta of these candles is quite high, meaning the delta has heavy values. And now let's talk about both negative and positive delta together. And like these candles are of 11, 10, 17, 13. Okay, then again 12, 2. Meaning there are some candles whose delta is very high and some candles whose delta is very low. So in the candles whose delta is very high, there has been more buying and selling, because only then a big difference is created. And the candles in which there is active buying and selling are the ones with the potential to move the market. Candles with a very low delta have less buying and selling, and they lack the potential to move the market. So basically, candles around 30 to 35, where there has been buying or selling, or those with a higher delta, are considered to have heavy buying and selling. For example, in the first candle, there is heavy buying delta. What does the delta indicate? Yeah, it shows who is powerful within this candle. Now, the buyers are powerful. All right, on the buyer side, on the bet, which is the right side, where has the most buying activity occurred? At 159, 102, and 159, meaning this is from the buying zone of the first candle. Okay, look here, around 60K, 169K, 102K. And another important thing is that yesterday's volume note is also here. The VIPOC zone is also here. So it means that yesterday's VIPOC zone will act as support from above. Right there is a significant solid buying activity. Next candle, dates and again buying activity. Next candle, again buying activity. What happened here? What was the scene in the first 15 minutes? Inside the first candle, there is always significant buying and selling, no problem. You have to trade very carefully, right? But the levels are also providing a confirmation. The volume profile indicated that there was significant buying and selling. What happened in the next candle? Again, there was buying activity, meaning the volume of the first candle is being confirmed by the next candle as well. Assume that by the second candle, everything has stabilized. In the first candle, there is quite heavy volume. Buying here, and solid buying here as well. Look, there is solid buying in the third candle as well. It means that Nifty held here for 15 minutes. And what happened here is massive buying. There was a lot of buying, a significant amount of volume. This buying of 106. Confirm that buying happened here. And then in the next candle as well, buying occurred within this zone. And the buying was initiated while breaking this zone. It means there is no fear of this being absorbed now. This level broke on the upside. So that means it wasn't just buying. There was solid buying activity within 15 minutes, and a sharp side movement was observed. Let's analyze a few more candles. Now, buying activity of 106 happened here, and there was massive buying in the next candle as well. Massive in the next candle as well. Buying activity of 106 happened here, 145 happened here, and 141 buying activity occurred, each over 1 lakh in quantity. Someone bought. So where did the other buying activity happen? 106, 145. Okay, now let's move forward slowly. Now let's delete all these things like this so that the chart becomes a bit clearer. Okay, the first buying activity happened here and back to back within the next 3 candles. More buying activity occurred. Where did the buying activity of both occur the most? Look, boss, there is heavy volume within the first candle. But when heavy volume also comes in the top fifth candle, it gives a more solid confirmation. That's why we separately acknowledge this buying a little bit. In the next candle, there was also selling at 141, but in the very next candle, the buying zone was broken. So that means this buying is not going to work right now. These two buying zones, we have this buying zone. Okay, sellers came inside this candle, but in the next candle, all the sellers left. Look at the delta. There was a little bit of selling. Negative delta of 53. Here, the sellers left, completely left. Here, the sellers, this is very little selling. And there was selling within this candle as well. We got a little more buying delta. And the most important thing was that it stood there for 10 minutes and we did not see any selling activity. Another solid confirmation held right here. And we saw another upward movement. In this upside movement, there was another buying activity. Look at this dip of 76. Now, this buying activity that happened, someone bought at 96. What happened here is, look, there was a buying activity of 100 and another of 145. Here there was also a buying activity at 94, but it's slightly less than the previous one. So let's see what happens here, how this account zone works. Again, the market got stuck there. And there was a slight movement to the upside. Note that it wasn't as big an upside movement as the previous buying zone. But even a slight movement to the upside was given by this bank. And when Nifty came to this same zone again, this time it broke the zone with selling. But there's no problem. If this zone is broken, we still have this. These are big zones we have. Okay. And then again, it came here. And again, a movement to the upside. Now, here another buying was observed. How much was that buying? Look at this heavy buying, heavy buying delta, like 30,000. But here a little twist came. The market was facing yesterday's resistance, somewhere around yesterday's high. Yesterday's high meant a resistance zone. The market did not break this resistance with buying. All right, let's see what happened. Look at this. We marked this buying. Again, we only pick those candles which have heavy delta in front of us. Moving forward, no selling is happening, no selling at all. Whatever is happening is buying. Look at this again, the data for 4 ticks, but the market still remains the same. Look at this. A buying was initiated, but it was initiated above the bank resistance, and that buying did not break the resistance zone. It remained stuck there. Look, if this buying had happened here, and it had broken the resistance, and then there was a pullback, then everything would have been bullish for us. The buying was initiated, but the resistance was not broken anywhere. Okay, let's see what happened next. Now look at this. The same zone where the buying had occurred. There is heavy selling. A heavy selling break occurred, but now it's around 2:30 or 3 o'clock on Ichitin, and we didn't see much movement. A resistance break happened. If this had broken a little earlier, this buying objection could have acted as a resistance. But we didn't see much of that here. So the big movements in Nifty today, what does big movements mean? The movement that came in the morning, okay, then this movement came. After that, it was completely sideways. And then no such movement came at all. So how could order flow have helped us in these moments? It could have helped us in this way. First of all, the volume profile helped as the market held above yesterday's resistance zone and buying activity occurred here. And another buying activity happened here, which indicated that yes, the buying zone has now broken to the upside. Another buying activity occurred. A pullback came. It was quite a nice pullback. Okay, it held again. And there was an upward movement. Here, a slight buying activity was also observed, leading to an upside movement from here. This time during the pullback, there was buying at around 94. The buying at 94 was broken, but this was also a support zone here, okay? So there was buying activity here. A pullback came, and it easily moved to the next resistance zone. There was a slight issue only where this buying zone was broken. Otherwise, we did not see any delta today. That would indicate a reversal is coming. And any buying zones were large buying zones. Buying came in during the break, a pullback occurred, and the upside took a little more time. But as soon as it hit resistance, it got stuck there. And after that, there was no movement. Pause. This was today's Nifty. Now let's look at Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty also gave a very nice confirmation. Today, the order flow worked very well. How it worked well, see, in Nifty 2, we saw back-to-back buying within the first candles. Okay. And here too, we saw back-to-back buying. Look at this. Buying in the first candle, let's assume the volume of the first candle, then there is buying in the next candle. And look at this, a buy of 35. So in these buying zones, where are the most buying zones? Like we marked the buying zones of the first candle. Okay. Now in the second candle, there was a buying of 52 and there was a pullback of 1. Similar to how there was a pullback in Nifty. Here it held a bit more. But we had a good confirmation that the negative delta was only seen in 1 or 2 candles. And the negative delta of those candles was absorbed. In every other candle, we continued to see positive delta. The buying that happened within the first 4 candles came to the pullback zones of those buying zones. Gave an upside movement. Okay, And here too, a buying was initiated. Just like a buying was initiated in Nifty. Look at this again. A very good buying of 66 was initiated. Look here. A buying of 66 was initiated and then it held at 52 and the same point was held and then it continued its uptrend. So what are the simple 2 steps to observe in Bank Nifty? You need to pick those candles that have a heavy delta. If the delta is on the positive side, you pick the buyer's side. If the delta is negative, you jump to the sellers. Here, what happened in Bank Nifty? Within the first candle, this buying zone pullback occurred within the next 3 candles due to the virus and upside movement. Here, another pullback occurred, an upside movement. And after that, Bank Nifty moved to the B side. So this was a quick analysis of today's Nifty and Bank Nifty. Now, for any questions you have, quickly unmute and ask.